Hey folks, thanks for joining me today. This is another episode of the Preparatory Melodies to Solo Work by Pottag. This is number 16. I'm going to do something a little different today, something a little adventurous, and I hope it's at least entertaining, and maybe you might pick up some tips that will help you with your own work. I'm going to go ahead and play number 16. Normally I talk about the musical and the technical issues, and we'll do that. But it's going to take me a little while to work through the experiment today. I'll show you after I play. Here we go. Okay, so that's a short and sweet one. Well, maybe not sweet, but at least it's short. Very trumpety. And so I got an idea. I thought, why don't I play it on a bunch of different trumpets? Now, I started out with a B-flat trumpet, as most of us do. And I bought my own trumpet because my family didn't have a lot of money. I worked all summer in order to be able to afford it. And I was very happy with it. It was a good instrument. Now, when I got to school, then I had to learn how to play a C trumpet. But again, I didn't have a lot of financial ability at that point. So it was until halfway through my senior year where I was able to afford a C trumpet. Now, once I got out of school, I went through graduate school, and I was working the whole time. And when I got my first full-time job, I started to say, maybe I can afford to buy some different trumpets. So that's fun. You get to go shopping and try different horns. Now we're gonna spend some time on equipment someplace else on the site, and so I can go into detail. Today I'm just going to go ahead and play. So you heard that. Now, what's confusing when you go to C trumpet right off is you've been spending your whole life, if you're like most folks, playing the B flat. You hear a certain pitch, and that's the note that you see on the page that corresponds to that pitch. And when you pick up the C trumpet, all of a sudden you hear a different pitch from what the note on the page says. So you have to get used to that. Okay, so let's try it on a C trumpet. See, that's what happens. I don't have the note in my ear, and I'm hearing the note on the B-flat trumpet. So that's a very common occurrence. So let's see where it is. A whole step higher. And that helps. Now this kind of proves that you need to have your ear, which is kind of like the director. Your ear is following the sound in your mind, and that is to correspond with the horn that you're playing. So here we go. Okay, so of course every trumpet's going to sound a little bit different. Even if there is no identical trumpet, they're too complicated. It's kind of like a violin. You can't make one that's exactly like another one, even though they're made out of metal. Too many little tiny things make a big difference. And that's the challenge of manufacturing in terms of consistency. Next I'm going to go ahead and play a D trumpet. Okay, and I'll talk more about equipment later. Don't worry about it. I just want you to know I have some sympathy for you folks that don't have a good trumpet, like I didn't for many years, or only have one trumpet, like I did almost all the way through school, one trumpet and one mouthpiece. And all my colleagues came in with quad cases full of new instruments and dozens of mouthpieces and all kinds of mutes and everything. you know, it's probably good that I didn't have all that stuff because I was just trying to learn how to play. So I spent a lot of time practicing. Okay, so now let's oh, good. I'm close. Okay, now let's try it on D. Okay, now I'm trying to play it pretty much the same. Even if all these instruments were exactly the same make, and even the same design, you still would hear big differences as you go through. I don't know if it'll come across in the recording, but I assume that you can probably hear some of those differences. Now I'm going to do something a little more complicated. I'm going to take this horn apart. I'll be right back. I'm back. Now, what I did was, it took a little while. I had to change the bell, take this bell off, put a different bell on. This one's a little shorter. And I had to change the slides. So now it's in the key of E flat. So let's try this tune in E flat. Well, starting to get a little water in the horn. All right, next on the list, you see what we're doing? We're playing a scale. I started on B flat, I went to C, I went to D, now I went to E flat. And now I'm going to F. Now, most people don't own an F trumpet. Although I've had some friends that were working trumpet players that found it extremely valuable for brass quintet, some music in the brass quintet, a lot of stuff in the church music, especially Bach cantatas and various things. You can play in the section if you're playing, third trumpet in a piece, orchestral piece by Bach. Could be a good instrument, and we'll talk about this later on when we get into more specifics about the equipment. But one of the reasons why people will play different horns in different keys. And I'm told, I haven't actually witnessed this, and I don't know Mr. McNabb personally, but I'm told that it was his habit in the studio to just have all the different keyed horns lying in front of him. And depending on what they had to play, he would just look at the music, figure out which, okay, this is going to be easiest on this horn, I'm going to get the most accuracy, and pick up the horn and play it. Now that takes a lot of skill, and it takes playing all those horns every day in order to stay kind of in tune with the instrument, because they all feel different. They all play a little bit different, and they all have different pitch tendencies. So that makes it a little complicated. And you may see that it's a little complicated for me too. Also, as the instruments get higher and higher, the pitch tendencies, the problems with the pitch become greater, because any problems with the pitch, a trumpet is a compromise between basically 7 different trumpets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you have 7 different trumpets, different lengths of tubing opening up in order to get that effect. So we can play a chromatic scale, which is great. So we don't just have to play bugle calls anymore. And that allows for a lot of flexibility, but it also, those compromises that are in the 7 horns put into one become greater as you move away from the B-flat trumpet. So it's more difficult to make a good C trumpet. B-flat's kind of like the right key. And you can imagine what happens when you get here. And I don't even know where I am anymore. So okay, so on an F trumpet, that's a C, which means that's an F concert. Okay, let's try it on F. This should be interesting. So this is kind of a little baby blaster. You see it's got a very focused, high energy sound. And that can be great, or maybe it's too penetrating, too directional, too irritating to some people. But it can be a great sound in certain settings. And you can also play very light and very delicate on it, because the smaller the instruments get, the quicker they respond, and the easier it is once your body is properly trained to get a response on those instruments. Okay, so again, I have to change this horn into another horn, and then I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, this time with a G trumpet. And you can probably see this is getting pretty small. So traditionally, in the beginning, the smaller trumpets, when they were available, were called piccolo trumpets, which just means small trumpet. So, for example, in Stravinsky, he writes piccolo in D. So D is, we think of C trumpet as kind of a normal trumpet, and the D is just one step above that. Still a smaller trumpet. So now they're getting quite small. Again, I'm going to see if I can find where the pitch is. Okay, that sounds like that's the low C, believe it or not. Here we go. So again, a lot of snap, a lot of very quick, immediate sound, totally different character. Now we're going to play a horn that's a little bit more like what some of you may have seen if you don't own one. And that's a piccolo trumpet. Now you notice some of my trumpets are dirty. That's because they've been sitting around and picking up tarnish as a result of exposure to the air. And so they look old, but, well, this one's old. I got this piccolo trumpet in the mid-70s, and it's what I've played ever since. It's a good horn. If I can find a better one, I'll buy it. So here is the rendition on the A, piccolo in A. So most of these trumpets, especially the 4-valve kind, will come with 2 pipes. And that's the lead pipe right at the beginning here. And that's how you change the length of the horn. You can make little adjustments with the other slides, kind of, to try and get closer to being in tune. And playing the piccolo trumpet in tune can be problematic. Of course, picking these horns up quickly like this, they're cold. So the temperature makes a difference in terms of the pitch. And it changes as you're playing until things kind of get equalized out, until the horn absorbs some of the warmth of your body. And when they're warmer, they go higher. And if you're outside playing in the heat, the pitch can be a real problem. If you're in a very cold room, the pitch can be a problem. So sometimes we have to learn how to adjust for that. Now, again, I'll get into those kinds of details, those kinds of practical things that we have to deal with later on. See, I'm trying to play like a normal trumpet. And no, there's nothing there. So that's the low C. Let's see how this works. Now I'm trying to play it like a big trumpet. I need to relax and remember what it is. I think I need to practice piccolo trumpet more. Now, this is a difficult instrument because it's different. It just feels different than the other instruments. The principles are the same. You got 3 valves or 4, And but you're playing in the upper register most of the time, and you have to become accustomed. You have to discover how to play in that range without trying to force too much air through the horn. And I'm doing that a little bit now. And now I'm probably going to even have more problem because I'm going to switch to piccolo trumpet in B flat. Now this is an easy switch because I just changed the pipe. And maybe push the third valve, slide in a little bit, or whatever, something like that. Ooh. Oh, I think they need to practice a little bit. It shouldn't be hard to play piccolo trumpet, but a lot of people feel that it is, and that's mostly because it's unfamiliar. Some people are just naturally more well suited to the instrument. It's like it's a better fit for them. Just like a cornet or a flugelhorn might be a better fit than a trumpet, for example. You might feel more natural for your body. But when you go to an orchestra audition, oftentimes you might be playing 5 or 6 different horns. You're certainly going to be playing a C most of the time. There'll be parts, especially if you have to go into the low register a little bit further, that you'll be playing a B flat. You might have a D with you for some of the higher orchestral parts. Some people do that. You probably won't bring the F and the G because you can only carry so many horns on the airplane. But you probably will have an E flat because chances are you're going to play the Haydn and the Hummel, and most people will be using an E flat for that. So you can play those tunes on B flat, but if you play it on E flat and you become accustomed to the instrument, it can make it much easier to play lighter and more stylistically appropriate. So you got 3 horns right there. Nowadays for orchestra auditions, many orchestras are requiring rotary trumpet on some of the excerpts, especially the classical orchestra excerpts, you know, Mozart, Haydn, etc., etc. So that means that's a lot of horns. And right now, I have a rotary trumpet in the closet, but it's not mine. And I don't know whether I'll buy another rotary trumpet because I'm not playing in the orchestra anymore. But they are beautiful instruments, but that's another instrument to learn. Another instrument, you figure out what mouthpiece matches the instrument, and you have to become accustomed to it. And then probably you're going to be playing piccolo trumpet. So that's, 5 horns right there. It's like, That means you have to be playing on those every day. And it's kind of like being a golfer and knowing what club to pick up and being able to do that very, very easily. And your body becomes so accustomed through doing it. So don't go out and buy all these horns, please. Well, you can if you want and you can afford it, but it really wouldn't be a very sensible or practical thing to do because you're going to have to learn how to play them all. So my recommendation is learn how to play the B flat. And then from there, it's pretty easy, it's pretty natural progression to learn how to play the other horns. So thanks for watching to this a little bit longer installment today, and I hope that you join me again someplace on the website and check out some of the other things I'm doing. Have a great day. I'll see you later on. Bye-bye.